Hey, good morning. Happy Forgiveness Friday to you guys. I am excited to try to share some ideas with you today. I look forward to getting comments, so if you uh, would mind commenting or if you want to tweet me or Facebook me, I got my phone here so I can very quickly get questions answered. But today I thought, since it's the beginning of the year, we would talk about something that I know all of us have had to deal with. Um, how many of you have had an employment situation that didn't go well? Let's just say you had a boss that mistreated you, or a boss that told you you wouldn't stack up, told you that you were not ready for the promotion. Whatever that was, whatever that negative thought that they planted in your head, how has that impacted your career today? I was doing a radio show last weekend with my good friend Janma Holmes on 760 AM in Nashville, and she and I talked about this a little bit, that there are people that have done very well in their careers, frankly, but for whatever reason they have struggled with what has been the conversation or the issue for them in the past, that all of a sudden you've got this manager that constantly berates you or constantly questions every single thing that you do, and they never ever give you credit for the work that you've done, or they discourage you from doing more of what you're doing. I'll tell you briefly a little bit about what happened with me. For those of you that know me, I've been involved with, I worked in nonprofit many moons ago, and had a situation in that case where someone told me that I just was not good enough. I was not adequate. Now, keep in mind, I had gone to college and gotten a degree in marketing, and it was actually working on my MBA at Tennessee State at the time. And they had given me, at the ripe old age of 24, I should say, 24, 23, 24, ripe old, a dual job. So I was doing the work of two full-time positions, and one was working with young people, doing career development, and the other was doing marketing and trying to grow the Northwest YMCA. Well, if you know anything at all about, you know, the African American community, you know that exercising has not necessarily been one of our favorite things to do. It is difficult when you have limited discretionary income to expect that people in that community are going to spend the few extra dollars they have to get healthier. But we all know the need exists for us to be healthy. And ironically, if you know anything about Nashville, you know that the Bordeaux community is not necessarily a place that everybody wants to commute to, or at least not back in the early 90s. So, I was struggling, let's be real about it, struggling in trying to get the membership up and get people there. But what I did find was that I was connecting with the community in a way that they had never seen before. We were doing educational workshops. We had an amazing team of fitness instructors there that really embraced the community. We had a senior group that was unstoppable. Those little ladies would come in and work out with us, and it was really growing. But it wasn't growing as fast as, let's say, a Brentwood YMCA or Franklin YMCA. And for those of you that know anything about the Nashville community, you understand that demographically in those communities, there's a lot more income. Sorry about that. The discretionary income is definitely available, and there was, at least at that time, more of a commitment to health and fitness than, let's say, in predominantly African American communities. So that's the setup. So I'm sitting down now, and there was let's say, a shift in leadership, and I had the person that had hired me was no longer working for the YMCA, and the corporate office had taken over, and so they were, trying to weed out who's legit, who's not, and frankly, I think part of it was who is going to be a team player and who is not. And so if you were part of the old regime, they needed to test you to see whether or not you were committed to moving forward and doing things differently. Well, they didn't know me. I was a stubborn 20-something year old, and realized that, my destiny didn't lie in who I worked for or with. My destiny lied in God, and my faith was in Him. And so as they were, quote unquote, testing me, I continued to excel. And it was one of those situations where it frustrated some folks. So what ended up happening, long story short, is I had a meeting one day with someone from the corporate office who was at that point overseeing, he was overseeing the facility, he was also overseeing the process to hire the next executive director. And as I saw some of the names come through, I thought, well, let me just see if I can put my name in the hat. I've got the community connections, I've got the fundraising experience, so let me put my name in the hat. So I think there was just a series of circumstances that created this what I would call explosion of expectation, where in the end this gentleman comes to sit with me, and he says to me, I think you're really good with the kids. You do an amazing job with the teams, but you don't know anything about marketing. If you did, this facility would be growing at a greater level. And I looked at him, and keep in mind that he's sitting in my office, and I had now been doing this for a few years. He's sitting in my office telling me he didn't think that I was good enough. So I said to him, I disagree. I think when you look at the circumstances, you look at the results, you look at the fact that I've leveraged a budget that is 1 month of a budget for some of the other facilities you're trying to compare us to. That's my annual budget. I would say that I've done well given the resources and support that we've gotten from you in the corporate office. Not to mention the macro environment that I'm in. So we kind of went back and forth, and in the end he says, no, we're just going to pull the marketing responsibilities from you and allow you to focus just on the children. And it was in that moment that I realized he was trying to change the course of my destiny. I knew that my life was greater than being a program director. I knew that my life was greater than what he was trying to allow me to move into. So I'll just leave it at that. So what ended up happening, I ended up moving on, went to work for Inroads, and then ultimately ended at Allstate in 1999. And by the year 2006, so 5 years later, I was promoted to a division manager within Allstate, and ultimately 2 years after that was promoted to be regional marketing manager. So I was running the marketing department for one of the regional offices of Allstate on the East Coast in DC. So I had DC, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and Delaware as part of my region. And I'm doing multi-million-dollar deals. You can see the Redskins helmet up there. Sorry, Green Bay fans. But had a $500,000 deal with the Redskins. And that deal actually gave me more than $2 million in exposure. But what we had negotiated was incredible. And I was doing things with Allstate and the Redskins that hadn't been done previously at the regional level. And ironically, one day, that conversation I'd had several years prior to popped back into my head about how I didn't know anything about marketing, that I wasn't good enough to be an executive director, let alone to do membership to grow a YMCA. So why did I give you that whole story? Imagine if I had sat there, as this man tells me, that I wasn't good enough. If I had sat back in my chair and I accepted that I was not good enough. If I had believed him instead of what I believed God had in store for me and said, you know what, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe, just maybe, I am not the one. This marketing thing isn't really what it's cut out to be for me. Maybe I should focus on what my passion is, and that's helping young people be successful. If I had stopped there, where would I be today? Would I have traveled the world? Would I have made some of the impact that I've made? Would I have available to me the resources that I've had to help support communities, much like the one that I was working in at the time, where I went from being the quote-unquote recipient to the check writer? Would I have been able to do all of those things if I had accepted what he told me? Probably not. So I want to start this year off by saying to you, don't allow someone else to dictate and determine your destiny. That is important. And it sounds cliche-ish. I'm sure you've probably heard it from other speakers all week long. But let's just be real about it. How many of us walk into work each and every day and we're told what we're capable of doing? We're not asked, we're told. We are put into a position, we're limited with resources, and then what ends up happening is that they tell us that what has been confirmed is what they believed when they see that we've come up short of their expectations. Many of us set expectations for ourselves, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more maybe next week, but many of us set goals for ourselves, and when we don't hit those goals, we get so frustrated, we say, oh, I didn't do well. And we frankly lose track of all the amazing things that we actually did throughout the year. So I want to challenge you today, stop listening to what other people expect of you. You set your own expectations. You set your goals for who you are and who you want to be. And you have to know that your purpose will lead you to help support the people that you're supposed to support. So remember that no one can tell you where you're going but God. And the only person that will keep you from getting where you should be is you. It's not your boss. It's not your prior bosses, because that's another issue. You take some of that baggage and garbage from your previous employers, and it's all in your head, and you get to the new job, and they giving you a promotion, $20,000 more in salary, and all these amazing perks that have come with this new job. But in the back of your head, you keep hearing, what? I'm not good enough. So I want to, again, as I look back over the last 20 years of my life, that moment was one of my defining moments in my life. Another defining moment was when I decided to become an entrepreneur and own my own businesses and not allow other people, once again, to dictate my destiny. When I'm working my butt off and I'm doing the best I can and I'm making a difference, I'm making strides, and then somebody looks at me and they compare me to somebody else, and it's like apples and oranges in comparisons, and they just tell me once again, what? You're not good enough. You do not deserve the raise. You do not deserve the bonus. You do not deserve and exceeds in your performance review. Oftentimes, those kinds of things push us into our destinies. So what's pushing you into your destiny? What's pushing you to fulfill your purpose on this earth? If you don't know what your purpose is, feel free to inbox me, message me, follow me, and we can talk about that. We can talk through that. And I'd be more than happy to help you understand how I found my purpose and how I'm trying to live into my purpose. This Periscope on a Friday is part of that. So what are you doing to fulfill your purpose, and who are you allowing to dictate your destiny? Make sure that that person is God, and make sure that you get out of his way so that you can have an amazing 2016. Be blessed. Please share this with your friends. Let them know that I'm going to try to do this every week as my schedule permits. I'm going to try to do it at 11 o'clock. And I'm also going to try to do some workshops as well. And I'm going to stop saying try, because I'm going to do it. We are going to do workshops on First Fridays. I am going to post something like this. I'd love to get your feedback if there's some things that you want me to share, things you want me to talk about. I know that I've had some interesting dialogue with men, women, married, divorced, single. I'd love to share those thoughts on Periscope and hopefully help heal other people and give them the direction that they need. So, enough of me talking today. I pray that this has blessed you, and I pray it's blessed you enough that you're willing to bless someone else with it. So please, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you as well for sharing. Have an amazing Forgiveness Friday, and I will talk to you real soon. Take care.